Don't eat me. Oh wait, that's not a Cheerio. It's just the opening line to one of Disney's strangest live-action gambles. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids wasn't a superhero epic or a space opera. It was a backyard turned into a death trap. Behind the oversized ants, flying bees, and killer sprinklers was chaos. Directors quit, stars bailed, and Disney improvised. These are the secrets that turned tiny kids into a giant phenomenon. The movie we know as a family adventure almost began as a nightmare. Stuart Gordon, the cult horror director behind Reanimator, first pitched it as a survival thriller. His version imagined kids shrunken to insect size, facing a hostile backyard where blades of grass became prison bars and bugs were monsters. It leaned dark and menacing, closer to Alien than Disney. But fatherhood softened Gordon's perspective, shifting it into a child's eye adventure filled with wonder, not terror. Believe it or not, honey, I Shrunk the Kids was almost called Teeny Weenies. Disney floated other names too, like Grounded and The Backyard, none stuck. They were either too silly or too bland to headline a summer blockbuster. The turning point came from the script itself, when Wayne blurts out, "Honey, I Shrunk the Kids." It wasn't grammatically correct, but it was funny, direct, and authentic. Exactly what a frazzled dad would say. Disney locked it in. Disney originally planned for Gordon to direct his own brainchild, but just as production geared up, he fell seriously ill. The studio scrambled for a replacement and landed on Joe Johnston, a first-time director with a background in visual effects. Johnston balanced spectacle with warmth, transforming Gordon's eerie concept into a beloved, family-friendly classic for the ages. Wayne Szalinski, the bumbling dad inventor, wasn't meant for Rick Moranis at first. Disney pitched the role to Chevy Chase, then one of Hollywood's top comedians. He passed. Next came John Candy, who declined but recommended his friend Moranis. That single suggestion changed the film's future. Moranis's quirky, nerdy charm made Wayne believable, endearing, and unlike any movie dad before. His performance became iconic, proof that sometimes the backup casting choice becomes the perfect one. The Szalinski's neighborhood looked like picture-perfect suburbia, but none of it was real. Disney built the entire block from scratch at Churubusco Studios in Mexico City. Every lawn, house, and sidewalk was an elaborate facade. The controlled set gave the crew total freedom. They could blow up mailboxes, flood yards, or seamlessly connect shots to the oversized backyard jungle. What looked like pure Americana on screen was, in truth, one of Disney's most convincing illusions. Forget CGI. In 1989, if you wanted to shrink kids into bug-sized explorers, you had to build the world. The filmmakers created 30-foot blades of grass from fiberglass and foam, scaled Lego bricks as big as cars, and cookie crumbs sculpted from plaster. The most legendary set piece? A 16,000-gallon milk tank with floating oversized Cheerios, where Wayne famously tries to scoop his kids out of breakfast. The cereal pieces were foam-coated in liquid that looked like milk, complete with bubbling effects. Crew members joked they felt tiny themselves wandering through colossal props. That thrilling flight on a bumblebee wasn't just movie magic, it was engineering brilliance. To pull it off, the team built multiple bees, a full-sized prop for close-ups, a rigged platform that swooped the kids through the air, and a $30,000 miniature robotic bee for aerial stunts. Each was painstakingly matched so footage could be cut seamlessly together. The actors were strapped to rigs, swung around on wires, and surrounded by wind machines to sell the illusion of flight. On screen, the result felt like pure freedom, a backyard sky battle that had audiences gripping their seats. For many kids watching, it was the moment they swore the cast had really taken flight. A backyard rain shower sounds simple, right? Just use sprinklers. Except real water looked like mist on camera, tiny droplets disappearing into nothing. So the effects team hacked physics. They thickened the liquid until it fell like jelly, exploding into waves that drenched the sets. Each drop was engineered to crash like a water balloon in slow motion, creating a sense of disaster from something ordinary. For the actors, it wasn't just pretend rain. They were pounded by gallons of sticky, syrupy water that clung to their costumes. That's why the storm sequence still hits so big on screen. Audiences fell in love with Auntie, the kid's unlikely six-legged friend. But bringing him to life was no small feat. Disney built a massive puppet made from latex, foam, horsehair, and metal, operated by as many as 16 people at once. Each antenna, twitch, and leg scuttle was controlled with perfect timing, so Auntie looked insect-like yet oddly sympathetic. Early versions looked too scary. Executives wanted a cuter E.T.-style bug. Director Joe Johnston fought back. He knew the kid's bond with Auntie had to feel real, not cartoonish. His rougher design meant Auntie's death scene hit hard, leaving kids and parents teary-eyed in theaters. Against all odds, a puppet ant became one of the most emotional characters Disney ever created. One of the film's sweetest set pieces was the oversized Oreo. On screen, it looked like pure childhood fantasy, clambering over frosting, scooping chocolate crumbs. Behind the scenes, the prop was half dessert, half construction project. The cookie's base was wood and foam, but sections were built with actual cake and frosting so the young actors could take real bites. The combination made the set smell like a bakery, though it quickly became a sticky, melting mess under hot lights. Between takes, the kids were buzzing from sugar highs, laughing while covered in crumbs. For audiences, the Oreo was a dream made real. Continuity errors sneak into almost every film, but this one is impossible to unsee once you know it. Marcia Strassman, who played Diane Selinsky, began shooting with red hair. Halfway through production, Disney executives asked her to dye it blonde. The problem? Scenes with her red hair were already finished. Instead of costly reshoots, the studio shrugged and kept everything. The result is one of the strangest visual quirks in the movie. In some shots, Diane's a redhead. In others, she's unmistakably blonde. Before the shrinking even began, audiences were treated to one of the most inventive title sequences of the era. The opening credits, tiny kids dodging typewriters, paperclips, and record players blended traditional hand-drawn animation with early 3D modeling. The work came from Croyer Films, a small studio co-founded by Bill Croyer, with staff that included future Pixar mastermind Andrew Stanton and even Gwen Stefani's brother, Eric. For Disney, it was experimental and risky, but it worked beautifully. The sequence set the tone, playful, surreal, and slightly dangerous. It impressed executives so much they quickly hired the same team for Troop Beverly Hills and Christmas Vacation. While fans remember giant Cheerios and backyard adventures, that credit sequence quietly pushed animation into a new frontier. The movie's title is now iconic, but in 1989, it had English teachers fuming. Strictly speaking, Wayne should have said, "Honey, I shrank the kids," not shrunk. Critics, academics, and grammar sticklers tore into Disney for promoting what they called bad English. The noise even earned the film the 1989 Spell Dunce Award for Worst Grammar in a Title. Disney's response? Pure confidence. They said the mistake was intentional, It reflected Wayne's frazzled, panicked personality and made the line feel authentic. In truth, that so-called mistake turned out to be brilliant branding. The imperfect phrase stuck in people's heads, sounding funny, natural, and unforgettable. Sometimes wrong grammar makes perfect marketing. Audiences in 1989 didn't just get a movie, they got a double feature. Before Honey, I Shrunk the Kids rolled, theaters premiered Tummy Trouble, a brand new Roger Rabbit short. It was the first original Disney animated short in 25 years, starring Roger and Baby Herman in chaotic slapstick glory. The pairing was genius. Families were already buzzing from Who Framed Roger Rabbit's groundbreaking success the year before. Starting the night with a cartoon appetizer, guaranteed laughs, and softened kids for the intense adventure ahead. Disney revived an old tradition, animated shorts before features, while boosting Roger's popularity. One ticket, two very different Disney spectacles in a single evening. At the height of his career, Rick Moranis was everywhere. He starred in Ghostbusters, Spaceballs, and then Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, cementing himself as one of Hollywood's most bankable comedy stars. Moranis quietly turned down roles and walked away from the spotlight. For decades, fans wondered, what happened to Rick Moranis? The truth was simple. He chose fatherhood over fame. He resurfaced occasionally with voice roles or cameos, but a full return never came until 2020, when Disney announced he'd reprise his role in Shrunk. His story remains one of Hollywood's rarest, a star who put family above everything else. The movie made its young cast instantly recognizable, but Hollywood didn't keep them. Robert Oliveri, Nick Selinsky, reprised his role in Honey, I Blew Up the Kid and appeared in Edward Scissorhands, then disappeared entirely. Jared Rushton, Ron Thompson, had big roles in Big and Overboard, but left acting by the mid-1990s. Amy O'Neill, Amy Selinsky, tried modeling and smaller roles, then walked away too, later resurfacing decades later in a cameo on Baskets. Only Thomas Wilson Brown, Little Russ, kept working, carving a modest career in film and TV. For the kids, though, that backyard wasn't just an adventure. It was their Hollywood moment and their farewell. James Horner's energetic score gave the movie its heartbeat, elevating everything from Auntie's sacrifice to the soaring bumblebee ride. Yet strangely, Disney never released it. For years, fans could only enjoy the music within the film. Then, in 2009, 2 decades later, a small label finally pressed a limited run of just 3,000 copies. They sold out instantly, becoming prized collectibles. By then, Horner had already composed legendary scores for Braveheart, Titanic, and Avatar. His career was cemented as one of cinema's greats. For fans, that rare Honey, I Shrunk the Kids release isn't just a soundtrack. It's a bittersweet keepsake, preserving an early gem from a composer gone too soon. In summer 1989, Batman was everywhere. Lines around the block, merchandise flooding stores, and hype unlike anything Hollywood had ever seen. Against that juggernaut, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids looked doomed. But here's the twist. Families who couldn't get tickets for Tim Burton's dark PG-13 Gotham turned next door to Disney's smaller, family-friendly option. Once they watched, word of mouth exploded. The backyard adventure became the surprise family hit of the summer, grossing $222 million worldwide. Remarkably, it was Disney's highest-grossing live-action movie at the time. While Batman ruled headlines, Honey quietly thrived, proving that sometimes the little movie really does stand tall against a giant. It didn't just survive Batman mania, it used it to become unforgettable. By the late 1980s, Disney's live-action division was struggling. Expensive experiments like Return to Oz and The Black Cauldron had flopped, raising doubts about whether Disney could succeed outside animation. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids changed everything. Made for just $18 million, it didn't look like a studio saver. Yet week after week, audiences kept showing up, spreading the word that this was a kids' movie adults could love too. The box office soared to $222 million worldwide, proving Disney could still deliver live-action blockbusters. That success gave the studio confidence to greenlight more projects, shaping the 1990s wave of live-action hits. Without Honey, Disney's live-action future might have fizzled. Instead, it was reborn in the most unexpected way, through a shrinking ray. In 1997, Disney brought the shrinking adventure to television with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV show. Running 3 seasons and 66 episodes, it had surprising longevity for a spin-off. But there was one glaring problem: no Rick Moranis. Without his warmth and quirky energy, the series lacked the heart that made the films special. It gained a small following, especially on Disney Channel reruns, but most fans barely knew it existed. Critics called it forgettable, and it quietly ended in 2000. Today, the series feels more like a curious footnote than a legacy. It proved the shrinking concept had reach, but without Moranis at its center, the magic just wasn't the same. The backyard, it turned out, couldn't be duplicated. Honey, I Shrunk. The Kids was chaos stitched together with giant props, last-minute casting, and a title mocked for bad grammar. Yet it saved Disney's live-action division and became a childhood classic. From killer sprinklers to a lovable ant, it proved tiny adventures could leave a giant legacy. Sometimes the smallest stories make the biggest impact.